Hello and welcome to episode 2 of On the Ground with me, Councillor Peter Crossan. A lot of the casework that a councillor will receive will come in via email or via a telephone call. What I like to do is go out and see residents. Quite often in the evenings after work, you'll find me out around visiting residents and looking at those issues that they've highlighted to me. And today, we're going to talk about casework. Most people see the election posters, the leaflets and the council meetings, but the biggest part of being a councillor is often the bit that you don't see. The emails, the phone calls, the site visits, the chasing, the everyday work of helping getting residents the answers they need. That's casework, and that's what this episode is all about. Now that the election and the campaigning period is over, it's back to the day-to-day work of being a councillor. Casework is about helping residents with the everyday issues that affect their lives. So in this episode of On the Ground, I want to explain what casework is, how it comes in, the kind of issues that I and other councillors deal with, and how I try and stay visible and accessible across Bramhall, Cheadlehume and Woodford. Casework is the day-to-day help a councillor gives to residents when they raise a local problem, concern or request for support. Sometimes it's something I can report and chase directly. Sometimes it's an issue that needs me to champion it with the council or another organisation. And sometimes it's about signposting residents to the right department, service or person who can help. It might be about your street, it might be about your family, your business, your school, your local park or your wider community. And my role is to get answers, action or progress. Casework is often the less visible side of being a councillor, but in my view, it's one of, if not the most important part of the role. A councillor can't personally fix every issue themselves, but they can raise it with the right council department, chase for updates, challenge poor responses, ask questions, and make sure that residents are not simply ignored. For me, casework is about being a voice for residents when something is not working as it should. It's not always glamorous, it's not always quick. Sometimes it can be very frustrating, but it really matters because these are the everyday issues that affect people's lives. Most of my casework comes in by email or by telephone. From my experience, Mondays can be one of the busiest days for receiving casework. And like many councillors, I also have a full-time job. I'm back in on a Monday. I work in financial crime prevention. So balancing council work with employment and family life can be quite busy. And that means that Mondays can often involve working through lunch, working in the evenings, catching up on emails and reporting issues, chasing updates and responding to residents. So let me talk you through some of the things that have been in my inbox over the past week or so. Some casework is relatively straightforward. These are the issues where a resident contacts me, I report it, I chase it and I hopefully get a quick fix. That might include things like missed bin collections, overgrown hedges, potholes, damaged or overflowing public bins, street cleansing issues, broken signs, blocked drains, or just those small maintenance problems in the local area. And on issues like these, as an experienced councillor, it's often a case of contacting the officers that you know deal with these particular issues, highlighting what needs to be done, and then following up to ensure action is taken. Quite often as a new councillor, if there's an issue you simply don't know who deals with the issue about or you wish to address, there's something called a members tracker in Stockport which you can log casework and the system will help you ensure that it goes to the correct officer. There will be times where you need to engage third parties as well that fall outside of the council. A recent example of that is the public bin at Lum Lane, where residents raised concerns to me because of the United Utilities flood resistance work that's currently taking place. The main public bin is now inaccessible, so I called my contact at United Utilities, secured agreement that they'll either move or provide a temporary public bin, and then followed that up with council officers to confirm this agreement and ensure that the bin is on the waste management collection schedule. It's a simple win for users of the park, for residents of the area, but with these kinds of issues, I'll always try and report and chase things on behalf of residents and report back. But sometimes residents like to take personal ownership of issues too. So where it's possible, I'll also signpost people to the right place on the council website so that they can report things directly if they want to. That way, the issue is logged properly, residents have a reference, and then I become the first line of escalation, which means that I can still follow up on these things when they're not appropriately dealt with. Also, not every piece of casework is something a councillor can directly resolve. Sometimes the most useful thing I can do is help residents understand where to go, what the process is, or who they might need to speak to. That might include things like roadworks across the ward, planning applications, council consultations, or understanding which organisation is responsible for a particular issue. We regularly have third parties like Cadent, for example, undertaking maintenance on their infrastructure, which may involve roadworks, road closures, and road diversions. I may not be the person carrying out the works, but firstly, I'll always endeavour to communicate the detail of these roadworks in advance so that people can plan their journeys accordingly. And when things don't go according to plan, I can help explain who is responsible, what information is available, and where those concerns can be raised to. The same also applies to planning applications, a very extensive and very current issue in my ward here, and of course nationally. The next episode of On the Ground is going to go into this in quite a bit more detail, but for now, the key thing I can do as your councillor is help residents understand the process of planning, where to find documents, explaining the consultation process, including how to submit your comments, and how to make sure that your views, our views, are heard. That kind of signposting may sound simple, but when people are frustrated or unsure where to turn, it can make a real difference. Then there are the bigger issues which residents want me to champion with them or on their behalf. These are the matters that go beyond one single report or one quick fix. They're issues where residents are raising a wider concern, and my role is to champion that issue, raise awareness, ask questions, and keep pressure on the relevant organisations, including the council itself. Recently, that's included things such as parking concerns residents have around Bramley Close car park, early morning contractor waste collection issues that affect residents on Maple Road, speeding and road safety concerns in Little Australia and other parts of Bramhall and Cheadlehume as well, the oversubscription of local primary schools, poor lighting in Ginnells and alleyways, and ongoing bin collection problems and wider concerns about road safety and local infrastructure. These are not always the issues that can be solved overnight, but that doesn't mean they should be ignored in any way. Part of my job is to keep raising them, keep asking questions, and keep pushing for answers and make sure that residents' concerns are properly heard. Sometimes that might mean writing to council officers, sometimes it means raising questions at council meetings, sometimes it means meeting residents on site, and it can also mean using social media or video updates like this to make sure that people know exactly what's happening. An example of success is the recent announcement of new bus services between Woodford, Bramhall and Stockport Town Centre, and the new services for pupils at Bramhall High School as well. Two issues that I have lobbied council on since the day after my election and have used my position on Greater Manchester's Combined Authority B Network Committee to shout really loudly about. And following meetings with Transport for Greater Manchester executives, I was delighted to announce the new bus services a few weeks back. Now, in my opinion, a councillor should not just sit and wait for casework. Most casework reaches me by email or by phone, but I don't think a councillor should simply sit and wait for problems to arrive in their inbox. A helpful councillor should be out and about, speaking to residents, seeing issues firsthand, and finding out what matters most to the people in their ward. There are three main ways that I try to do that. The first way is by coming out to meet residents when they've raised an issue. Sometimes an email or a phone call is enough, but often the best way for me to really understand the problem is to go and see it for myself. That might be a road safety concern, a parking issue, a problem with a footpath, a drainage issue, a damaged piece of street furniture, or something affecting a particular group of residents. And seeing the issue on the ground makes a difference. It helps me to understand the concern properly. I can take photographs if needed. I can speak to residents directly and then raise the matter with much more detailed knowledge of it. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to call this series On the Ground, because local politics shouldn't just happen in meeting rooms. It should happen out in the middle of the community where people are actually experiencing the issues that affect them so much. The second way is by coming directly to residents and asking you what you want me to focus on. One of the complaints I hear the most about politicians is that you only see them at election time when they're looking for votes. And unfortunately, sometimes that can be true. I have always tried to be visible all year round, not just when there's an election coming up. I'm out there visible throughout the year, trying to get around as many homes as possible with my team. That's not always easy. There are almost 11,000 residents in my ward, and like many councillors, I also have a full-time job. Residents are busy too, people work, people are out, people have family commitments, and it's simply not possible to speak to everyone at once. Saturday mornings are often when I get out knocking on doors. But like I say, I also have a family, a wife and 2 daughters, so I can't be on the doorstep every single Saturday of the year. I do try to fit door knocking in during the week as well. But if I've not reached your door yet, please be rest assured it's not because I haven't tried. The reason I knock on doors is not just to be seen, it's to listen most importantly. And when I come to the door, I'll often ask you to take 5 minutes to complete a short local survey. Now that survey gives you the chance to tell me what matters to you most. It might be roads, potholes, schools, antisocial behaviour, bins, council tax, or something very specific on your street. And that information helps me focus on the issues residents actually want raised across Bramhall, Cheadlehume and Woodford. And of course, if I'm at your door and you do have a question or a concern, or you simply just want to put a face to the name, I'm right there and happy to chat. And if I've not been to your door recently, or if I called when you were out, you can still complete one of those surveys online. I'll put the link up on the screen and in the description as well. The third way is one of the most enjoyable parts of the role for me, my councillor surgery. I hold a regular surgery at Bramhall Library. It's an opportunity for residents to drop in a public and accessible space and speak to me about whatever is on your mind. It might be a personal issue, it might be a community concern, it might be something happening on your road, or it might simply be that you want to put a face to the name and have a chat with me as your councillor. You don't need to have a huge issue to come along. Sometimes the most useful conversations are the informal ones, where residents just tell me what they're seeing and experiencing locally. Those conversations really shape and help me figure out the work that I need to do, and they help me understand what's happening across the ward as well. They help me make sure I'm not just reactive, listening to emails, but actively listening to the local community. So that's a bit of an insight on casework. It is the emails, the phone calls, the doorstep conversations, the site visits, the surgeries, the chasing, the reporting, the questions, the follow-ups, and sometimes some of the frustrations as well. It's not always the part of politics that gets the headlines or you see the most, but it's the part that often matters most to residents, because when something affects you, your family, your street, your business, your school, or your community, you need to know someone is listening and someone is prepared to help. And that's what I try to do as local councillor for Bramhall South and Woodford. If you have an issue that you need help with, please do get in touch. And if you see me out and about at your door or in Bramhall Library or anywhere else in the community, please just come along and say hello. I'm here to listen, to help where I can, and to keep working hard for the people of Bramhall, Cheadle-Hulme and Woodford. That's it for this episode of On the Ground. In the next episode, I will continue looking at what happens inside the council after an election, and one of the biggest topic areas, planning and development, how it works and how you as a resident can have your voice heard. Thanks for watching me, and I'll see you next time.